The Cunard cruise ships Queen Victoria and Queen Elizabeth on the outside look pretty similar. They're both built on the same platform, the Vista-class from Holland, America, and they were both modified in a similar fashion by Cunard to allow them to undertake direct transatlantic crossings. But if you look closer, the two ships are actually quite different, particularly on the inside. The Queen Elizabeth and Queen Victoria's differences make the two ships unique. If you start in the grand lobby, you'll notice this difference between the two ships. Of course, Queen Victoria's main attraction there is a bas-relief that shows the Queen Victoria at sea, whereas on board Queen Elizabeth, it's a lighter design using the marquetry panel there designed by David Lindley, which is supposed to depict the original RMS Queen Elizabeth, which the current Queen Elizabeth is named after. On board Queen Victoria, you have a much darker interior that reflects a more Victorian styling that the ship was supposed to reflect. Queen Elizabeth, on the other hand, has a lighter internal color palette because her design was modeled around Art Deco, which was a brighter and lighter decor style. Now, if we head to the very top of the ship near the mast, you'll see another significant difference between the two ships. Queen Victoria's sports deck is completely open air, and the tennis courts and deck quoits area here don't have the shelter of awnings. On board Queen Elizabeth, however, this is quite different, and a large awning structure has been built around the top, fondly referred to as the ship's crown. This gives shade and shelter over the sports area and allowed Cunard to build some pretty interesting sporting activities up here. This includes bowls, croquet, and of course paddle tennis. And you'll find the deck quoits and shuffleboard courses just a little bit further aft. Sticking to the top of the ship, and if you head towards the amidships area just after the swimming pool, you'll find another major difference between the two ships, and this is in the ship's respective winter gardens and garden lounge. Queen Victoria's winter garden was actually designed with a retractable roof on top of it, and for the first few years of the ship's career in good weather, they would sometimes open up the retractable roof to allow fresh air into the winter garden. This all changed, however, when the ship undertook its major refurbishment in 2017, and a large tree was placed in the center of the winter garden. And since then, the retractable roof hasn't been opened because the tree gets in the way and they can't open the roof and risk damaging the tree. On the other hand, Queen Elizabeth never had a retractable roof here, and in fact, her garden lounge has an almost half pyramid structure of glass on top of it that allows for the space to have natural light coming through, but can never be opened in good weather. Both of these areas are used for similar purposes, as a bar and lounge, as well as an activity space where music is played and also quizzes and trivia. But it's interesting to see the different designs that were taken on these two ships. Heading to the aft of the ships, and we'll see a major change in the decor used in the Britannia restaurant on board. Now, the floor plan of these two restaurants is relatively similar. However, Queen Victoria's decor was designed as a nod to the Orient Express dining cars, and so you have the darker paneling here throughout the space. Queen Victoria's Britannia restaurant has two small spiral staircases at the forward end of the room to connect the Deck 2 and Deck 3 levels. However, when you walk into Queen Elizabeth's Britannia restaurant, you'll see a totally different perspective. This has taken the Art Deco style and modernized it, and it's also introduced a large grand staircase, which is similar to what you find on board Queen Mary 2. The result is that whilst the floor plan looks almost exactly the same on the deck plans, the two rooms feel very different for passengers who are sailing on board the two vessels. As a side note, the Queen Elizabeth was the first of the two ships to have a Britannia Club restaurant. Queen Victoria's Britannia Club restaurant was built in 2017 when the ship was given a major refurbishment, replacing a space that was once used by the absolutely beautiful chart room bar. Queen Victoria's Britannia Club restaurant is much more in keeping with the style found on board the new Queen Anne than what you have on board Queen Elizabeth, providing passengers who choose to travel Britannia Club with two completely different dining experiences depending on which ship they book on. This video is brought to you by me and my new book, The Evolution of the Passenger Ship. In The Evolution of the Passenger Ship, we've brought years worth of research together to create a book that takes you on a journey from the dawn of passenger shipping right the way through to the modern behemoths that we see in the cruise market today. By reading this book, you'll understand the transitions that have taken place as ships have developed from small sailing vessels to massive modern-day cruise ships. The Evolution of the Passenger Ship is available at all good bookshops, and if you make a purchase, you help us by supporting the channel. Thanks so much, and now back to the video. Another major difference will actually help you identify Queen Elizabeth from Queen Victoria if you look at them in photographs or in videos, particularly if you're getting a view from the bow. On Queen Victoria, the bridge windows have no white metallic panels between each of the panes of glass. This was actually painted black by the crew to give the forward profile of the ship a very sleek and commanding appearance. Now, when Queen Victoria first entered service, she did have those white metallic panels between each of the panes of glass, but it was later repainted by the ship's crew. This was never done on board Queen Elizabeth, and she still has those white panels. So you can really see the differences in the two ships from a forward-facing profile at this stage. Now, there are a number of spaces on board Queen Elizabeth and Queen Victoria that are very similar, including the Royal Court Theatre, the main shopping promenade, the ship's casino, the Golden Lion pub, but there are some distinctive differences between the two ships. If you found the video interesting, please don't forget to give it a like. And if you're interested in this kind of content, please subscribe to the channel. I'd love to have you on board. What are your favorite differences between Queen Victoria and Queen Elizabeth? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Chris Frame, and until next time, I hope to see you on board. Also, obviously, if you're close enough, you can look at the name, which helps you tell the two ships apart.